Hi, friends. So a couple things. First of all, you need a piece of paper and a pencil. Piece of paper and a pencil. Got it? Good. Now that you have your piece of paper and pencil, you're going to jot down a few quick notes before you start your exercise today. Today, we're going to be talking about author's purpose, and it's really important to figure out why people are writing, because everyone writes for a purpose or a reason. Now, there's three main types of purpose writing. The first purpose is persuasive. The second purpose is to inform or informative writing. Starts with an I. Your third type of writing is entertaining. Now, an easy way to remember this is that author's purpose is easy as pie. You draw a big circle here on your paper, and then you put in each section, once you've divided it into three sections, a P, an I, and an E. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, Mrs. Jansen, how do I even know what type of purpose writing this is? Like, how can I tell which one's persuasive? How can I tell which one is informative or entertaining? Well, the good news is sometimes you don't even have to read the entire document before you figure out what type of writing it is. Sometimes you can just look at elements of text structure to figure it out. For example, this is a magazine that Mrs. Jansen has in her house. It's called Taste of Home. It's how she feeds Mr. Jansen. Now, in Taste of Home, there's a lot of recipes. I know that when I look inside, and I'm glancing especially at this page here, there's instructions, there's ingredients, there's a number of types of like tablespoons of this or cups of this that I need in my recipe. They give me step-by-step instructions. They tell me what to do and how to make these delicious dishes. That type of writing is informative writing. I know that because it gives me information about how to make a meal. Other elements of informative writing are that the author, they want to inform us about something. In this particular instance, they want to inform us on how to cook something. Other types of informative writing would be writing about a specific event, a time period, a story that happened in history, or maybe a story that's happening right now. Think coronavirus. Oftentimes, our author will use charts, graphs, etc. to give that information. The author will often use dates, locations, people, important events, facts, details, or examples. The last kind of element that I always think of when I think of informative writing is that there's some major structures they tend to use, like comparing and contrasting things, problem and solution, cause and effect, descriptive writing, or in this case, sequence writing, when they're giving you something in steps. Do this first, then do this, and then do this. One example of sequence writing, as I just showed you, would be recipes or instructions on how to make something. I realize now that I skipped over P, persuasive writing. I'm so sorry. Miss Jansen's also a little rusty. The first element before that I that we should have talked about and we'll talk about now is persuasive writing. Persuasive writing is when an author is stating an opinion, giving an idea or a belief about something. They're also then trying to convey that belief to you in a way that makes you believe it too. So whatever they believe, they want to convince you to agree with them. Oftentimes in writing, this looks like stating a claim. Then they give evidence, reasons to convince you to agree with their opinions. The author will often sometimes address that other people maybe disagree with them. But then in the end, they try to manipulate or twist other people's ideas so that you agree with them, because they ultimately want to persuade you about something. The author will use facts, data, or personal stories to persuade you, the reader, to believe and agree with them. The biggest element of persuasive writing that we see is found in ads. I pulled up this sample ad of Coca-Cola to try to convince you, see what I did there? To try to convince you what persuasive writing really is. This is a very good example of persuasive writing. Notice it's small. It's only one small sentence. It's not even a full sentence. It's kind of like two phrases put together. Open a Coke, open happiness. But the author of this ad is making a claim. They're claiming that if you have a Coke, you will also be happy. That Coke makes you happy. And they use this image to make you believe that. It's this person sitting in this happy field. It's very sunny. It makes you feel all warm inside. And authors can do this with their words too. Ads aren't the only way that we can be persuaded. Oftentimes, news outlets, newspapers, even though they're not supposed to do this, will try to persuade you to agree with them, sometimes using facts, sometimes using tricky rhetoric. But the most persuasive writing we see has claims, has reasons, has evidence, has things that make you want to agree with the writer. Now, our last form of writing, or our last purpose in writing, is to entertain. This is easily the most fun writing, in my opinion, because there's not a lot of rules to entertaining writing. Entertaining writing could be movie scripts, funny limerick poems, could be entertaining stand-up comedy that someone has written. Entertaining writing can be something like one of your favorite books, in Miss Jansen's case, Harry Potter. Entertaining writing is only written for the purpose of bringing the reader joy, making them enjoy themselves, whether that's a romance novel, whether that's a scary book that makes you feel suspenseful. It's all geared towards making the reader enjoy what they're reading. That's the whole purpose. Author includes vivid details, sensory words, intense language, and imagery to paint the picture of what they're writing about. The author includes elements of plot, so every story has rising action, climax, or a really intense part of the story, falling action, where the action starts to dwindle off, a problem, and some sort of solution, how the problem is resolved. Some examples of entertaining writing, like we just discussed: movie scripts, stand-up comedy, poems, television, novels. Most writing anymore that we see today tends to be entertaining. If you're reading biographies, those often are informative. A lot of times autobiographies are intended to only be informative. Think about what the author is using in the text and how they're writing. That will help you know what the purpose of their writing is. Without further ado, let's go over to iExcel and do a couple practice problems together. All right, now that we're here on iExcel's homepage for reading, we're going to look at C under Reading Strategies, which is titled Author's Purpose and Tone. You're going to click on C1, Identify Author's Purpose. Now, I have my text in front of me. Obviously, I want a SMART score out of 80. There's two main purposes suggested. I know that our options are to inform or to persuade. Let's read this example and see if we can figure out which one it is. I was very concerned by the school board's recent announcement that lunch breaks will be shortened next year. So our author states here that he was very concerned. So he's feeling an emotion about something. This may seem like a good idea now, but in the long run, it will only hurt students. So he's made a claim here that in the long run, it will only hurt students. That is his belief or his idea. The current lunch break gives students a chance to exercise and breathe fresh air. More importantly, it lets them take a break from their hard work. Shorter lunches don't give students enough time for a real break. For the sake of all students, contact the school board today and let them know that breaks matter. So here, I see he's even calling me to action. He so badly believes that lunch breaks should be the length they are now, that not only is he saying it's a bad idea, but also he's giving me 3 reasons. The current lunch break gives students a chance to exercise. More importantly, it lets them take a break from their hard work. And then follows up with shorter lunches don't give students enough time for a real break. So those are 3 reasons why he believes shorter lunch breaks would be a bad idea. Then at the end, he says, for the sake of all students. He's very convincing there, trying to make sure I do what's best for all students. He wants me to contact the school board and let them know that breaks matter. He's not only informing me that lunch breaks are being shortened. I see that he's made a claim and he goes out of his way to give evidence to prove why his claim is correct. Therefore, I know this text's purpose is to persuade readers to speak out against shorter lunch breaks. And that's correct. Good luck today on C1.